Welcome to the Runna Podcast. I'm Ben, head coach.
And I'm Anya, international marathon runner. And we're proud to be the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide.
We'll be having truly insightful conversation with truly inspirational guests, as well as bringing you tips and tricks for runners of all abilities.
Today on the podcast, we spoke to a real-life superwoman, Helen Skelton, who has completed some of the craziest challenges I've heard anyone do. From kayaking 2,000 miles across the Amazon River to cycling to the South Pole and an 80-mile ultra-marathon through the Namibian desert. She's also about to complete her 3rd London marathon. And this is all whilst balancing being an award-winning author, broadcaster, and mum of 3. You're going to love listening to this episode. Hey Helen, how are you?
Good, I think. I mean, at this stage, it's kind of like, it's a bit like getting on a roller coaster. You sort of want to do it, but you don't know if you're going to enjoy it, and you hope it's going to be fine, but there's a potential it might not be fine. So there.
Yeah, we are 48 hours from the marathon, which we'll get into, but I guess we'll start at the beginning because you've done some crazy challenges and London Marathon is just the most recent one. How did you get into it all in the first place? How did you get into sport, exercise, moving your body?
I have to say, first and foremost, I am not a natural athlete. Like my brother, I had that annoying brother who is 2 years older than me and good at everything. You know, he played for the county at football, at rugby. Like he's been a footballer his whole life. Rugby, cricket, running, athletics, everything. He was that guy. And I was this slightly overweight one in the background with the massive glasses, entertaining herself on the sidelines. And I own that. Like that's who I was. Like I did not run at all. I was so bad at running at school. And when I kind of moved through life and became a journalist and ended up working in TV, when I started filming all over the place, I started running properly then, because I was like, I'd go to these cities for 24 hours, you'd get there, film something, then get out. So I wanted to enjoy it. So I started running before or after work to try and see it and think, okay, I've seen a bit of it, I know where I am. And then I enjoyed the food and drink, I enjoyed the city. It was a win-win.
I think it is such a good way to like go and see somewhere. And at the same time, it's also just such a easy sport to get into. You don't need all this equipment and everything. And I think that can be the case for so many people getting into their running.
100%. It was like, it's the one thing that and also you're in control of it. Like if you were the kid that wasn't, you know, the naturally gifted sports person, you don't feel awkward running because you dictate how fast you go, you dictate how far you go, you dictate whether you go up the hill or not. And I think for me, that was actually really quite liberating.
When did that progress into I'm going to do a crazy challenge? Like just from I'm just going to run an easy 5K around a city to let's really push myself here.
I was on Blue Peter, and the first year I was on it, I remember the big boss saying, oh, this year we want everyone to take on a challenge. What do you want to do? And I said, I've always been really impressed with those people who do marathon des Sables. I mean, at this point, I'd like literally only ever run one half marathon. And I was like, oh, I'm really impressed by those people who run the marathon des Sables. Can I do that? And he went, no, you can't have 7 days. Because at that point, Blue Peter was on like 4 days a week. He went, you can't have 4 days off work. But we found an event that's 80 miles in the desert in one day. You can do that. And so that's what I did.
Wow. I think it takes a certain personality to think that running doing the hardest challenge in the world is something that you want to do. Like, what is it about you that makes you confident enough or brave enough to think that you can do that?
That is the kindest way of saying, like, my friends are like, are you an idiot? I think it's a very fine line between brave and stupid. And I actually think ignorance is bliss. I had never run a marathon, so I had no idea how hard it was going to be to do 3 in one day because I didn't have a reference point. You know, and I think sometimes, like, when it comes to running a marathon or a half marathon, runners go, oh, are you ready? Whereas non-runners go, oh, that's hard. Oh, that'll be. And I think that ignorance was brilliant. And I remember going for my first run, I was at my parents', I ran across the field 10 minutes and I honestly thought my lungs were going to fall out of my body because I don't have natural fitness. And I walked back up the hill and my mum went, oh, do you think this is a good idea? And I was like, no, but I'm going to do it. And that's the wonderful, naive joy of being in kids' TV. Like, your job on kids' TV is to excite kids about the world and tell them anything's possible. So I was like, oh, I better get on with it. So I started running in the January, and I think it was in the March, I did 80 miles in 23 hours in Namibia.
I was going to say, is that the Namibian Ultra? And then you didn't just do that. I think we can talk about the training for that. But 3 weeks later, you went and ran just the marathon.
Well, because I thought, do you know what? Never in my life am I going to think, one marathon, that's a piece of cake. That's the thing. Because I was like, in the run up to that ultra, I was running everywhere. Like, I ran to work, I ran from work, I ran between, so I ran everywhere. And I wasn't like clocking my time. I was just literally putting miles in my legs and entering events right, left and centre. And I never ever once thought about the time. I just ran all the time. And then the London Marathon was on the horizon. I thought, never again in my life am I going to think, it's just one.
And the whole way through that, did you love running, or did you feel like you had to run everywhere and you resented it, or were you just loving this like crazy roller coaster for a few months?
I don't think I was loving it. I think when you look back through rose-tinted glasses, don't you? I definitely remember some really bad injuries. Like I remember. I always start that with an awkward laugh. I think, is this an appropriate story? Probably not. I remember, because I was so new to running, like I didn't know about the trainers and the gels and the bras and all of that. And I remember running in 2 running bras that chafed.
Yeah.
And I bled so much across my torso on one run that my bra was stuck to my chest with blood. And I had to peel it off. And I used to run, because what I used to do every Sunday was just run all day. I lived at the time near Kew. And I used to follow the river all the way along Hammersmith, all the way to Dulwich, turn around and run all the way back to Richmond. And I'd meet different friends along the way. So I made the training fun. Like I ran with a guy called Rory, but I used to run with my friend Kieran. So he'd run with me to Dulwich, and then he'd like give me a sandwich and cycle back. And then I'd meet my friend Lizzie, and I'd run from Hammersmith to Richmond. And then I'd meet my friend Eric. And so I made it a social life.
And that's all while being crazy, hectic, busy on the TV.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the TV is so like scripted and glamorous, did you quite like how rough and like gritty the marathon, and not pretty, how this ultra marathon training was? All the blood, the lost toenails, everything like that.
I was really proud when I lost all my toenails. I carried my 10 toenails around in my purse for a month. That is disgusting. But it was like a badge of honour.
So you got down to 0?
Oh yeah, 0.
My PB is getting down to 2.
Oh,
but I think 0 is really quite something.
Come on, commit.
What's your PB, Anya?
I've only lost 1 this marathon vlog.
Oh wow, so you're a full 9.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you were actually,
but it's TV's not glamorous. Not when you're a Blue Peter presenter, because you like on an overnight train to jump out of a plane and then an overnight, and it's wonderful. But it's it was kind of. I think you get past that as well, don't you? Like you kind of. Not your barriers go, don't they? Because you're so broken.
Yeah. No, it's just different things matter more. Did you know? Because you were the second woman to ever do this Namibian ultra. Did you know that at the time? Were you like doing it for the girls at all? Did that ever like motivate you?
No, I was doing it because I had moved to London, which I'm like from this. I mean, this is a long time ago. I don't want people to think I'm an ultra marathon runner. This is like pre-children. This is a long time ago. My brother's always like, "Are you still dining out on that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." I'd moved to London, which was a massive baptism of fire because I'm from the Lake District, like little rural town. I'd started working in television when previously I'd been working in newspapers and radio. So again, big baptism of fire, like the hair, the makeup, the TV studios. It was all a lot. I was at that chapter of life where you're learning about heartbreak and learning to deal with like losing family members, learning to pay your council tax, learning to, pay for your speeding fines, learning to deal with heartbreak, all of that stuff that you have to do when you become a grown up was quite overwhelming. And I think that's why I did it, because I was like, I need to be broken so that I know I can cope with real life. And that probably sounds mental.
So what was harder, paying your council tax or running 80 miles in the Namibian desert?
Working out how to pay a speeding fine in West London is definitely a lot more complicated than getting a race plan for Namibia, definitely.
Wow. And what was like the hardest part of that ultra marathon? Did it go well?
The first marathon was awful because it was so hot and everyone was delirious. And I think people got a bit giddy and people shot off and went so fast. And so what there was, God, this is a terrible story. I have to like look at my agent in the corner to always say, don't sack me after I tell this story. So you run your 80 miles. Every half marathon is a checkpoint to weigh you and make sure that you are all right. Because you're running in the desert. There's all sorts of things out there.
To weigh you?
Yeah.
To measure how much water you've
Yes.
lost. Okay.
So they check, how well you're doing. The first 13 miles, absolutely awful, like terrible. Everybody's ran off really fast. I was right at the back. I'm getting sunburnt. I'm getting blisters. It was so unbelievably hot. It was like running in an oven. The guy who'd run it the year before said, when you start, Helen, it's like running into a wall of fire. And I was like, that is what it's like. The second half marathon, by the time I got to the checkpoint, it was like a war zone in there. Everybody was so ill. There was, I think, 24 people set off. And by the first marathon, 8 or 9 people had dropped out because they were so ill. They were passed out. They were on drips. They were being taped up. And I know it's awful, and this is a terrible thing to admit, that gave me so much joy because I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only one finding this hard. And I looked around and I thought, everyone's finding this hard. That's fine. Like, it is hard. It's meant to be hard. Yeah. And that gave me the shot in the arm to run the next marathon. And 2/3 of the way in, I found out that all of the crew had bet on what point I'd pull out. Not what time I'd finish, but at what point I'd pull out. And one of the other men in the race tapped me on the shoulder and he went, you're probably not going to finish it, love, so you may as well just enjoy the views and like the sunrise. And I was like, you legend, because that's the best thing you could have ever said to me. But bearing in mind, everyone else was like seasoned runners and they wore their little Ron Hills. I was a kids' TV presenter. I had hair extensions. I was like not a runner. I had arrived in the desert in a polka dot blue and white dress with long hair extensions, false eyelashes and red wedges. Everybody else in there, you can imagine, like, you know what runners look like.
Yeah.
They all looked like a string of muscle, the slit shorts, and they were just like, who is she? And we all kind of bonded over that because none of them thought I'd finish. And I think the hardest bit was going into that final checkpoint. I had blisters all over my feet. The doctor was popping my blisters. I was like crying. Every time I put my feet on the ground, it was like stepping on razor blades. There's like some really weird clips on YouTube of me crying and sobbing every time I put my feet on the ground. And they all were like, well, she'll never finish. And I ran the last marathon, one of the quickest times I've ever ran. I ran the last marathon in like 4:50 or something.
Wow. And has that given you this incredible superpower to like believe you can now you can just do anything life throws at you?
I think it gives you a reference point of, it's so hard. I'm squealing in pain every time I put my feet down. It's so mentally challenging. I was hallucinating. Like, I was seeing wind turbines that weren't there. And I think it gave me a reference point to know that, oh, actually, sometimes life is meant to be hard. And sometimes life is hard. And if you just keep going, just keep putting one foot in front of the other, you can get through it. Life is full of ups and downs. Runs are full of ups and downs. Life is full of ups and downs. And I think for me, it was just, I'm just going to keep shuffling through this. And then this step I never have to do again. And the next 5 steps I never have to do again.
And looking back on all of the incredible challenges you've done, is that the hardest?
I sound like a lunatic, don't I? Yes. Yes, I think it was the hardest because it was the most physical. I mean, I literally was running down the road crying in pain, going, I just cannot do this. But I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to do it because it started being about proving something to myself and it finished being about proving something to other people. Like, it wasn't about the girls. It was about I'm not a runner. And that race was full of people who were like me, who were doing it because, I mean, I still count some of those people who ran, those 24 people who ran that race as like the most wonderful people. One guy had a huge anxiety attack in front of his wife and he needed to run the race to prove to himself that he could run the race. One guy had lost family members and he was like, I need to train myself for the nonsense that life throws at you. And I think to go back to saying about personality, I think it's those kind of personalities that kind of event attracts.
And then I guess you had to finish is what you told yourself. Do you still believe that? Like, do you have the same, on Sunday ahead, do you feel just as forced to finish or do you feel less driven or what's your like emotion to taking on new things now?
I don't entertain the idea that I won't finish.
Yeah.
I think the difference now, all these years later, is I have kids now, and I feel like if you start something, you finish it. So I'm stressed about the weekend because I know I'm not going to get the time I want to get. But if I have to crawl over that finish line, I will crawl over that finish line.
Most people would have, you've got 3 amazing children. Most people would have them and then like hang up their, challenge boots, their trainers, whatever. The fact that you still keep going and keep pursuing these crazy challenges, what you like have tight-roped across the Battersea Power Station, and you've just done 24 hours on roller skates and things like that. Is that to show, like, to send a message to your kids at all, like that it's not always comfortable, that you can achieve things that, if you put your mind to it?
I think this is really sad, but when you have kids, you just really want them to like you. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird thing, but you're like, I love you so much, just like me. And like, my kids are at that age where sometimes they look at me and they're like, oh, you are a dickhead. Like, I scoot to school with my kids, and literally my eldest went to the other day, I think you need to leave the scooter now, Mum. And I was like, oh God, like, he's mortified. And it's funny, I don't do it so that they go, oh, my mum's a legend. But in the moments when I'm not listening, when they say to their mates, oh, my mum did that, oh my God, I flipping love it. And I know that's really sad and needy, but you just like, I don't want my kids to be like, oh yeah, our mum did this and our mum did that. But I think there is definitely that thing of, I can't tell you to stick in at this if I don't practice what I preach. And, my eldest one is naturally sporty. My middle one has to work harder. And he said to me, oh, I couldn't, my eldest one did a cross-country race and he did quite well. And my middle one went, I could never do that. Like you and Ernie can do that. I could never do that. And I went, well, why couldn't you? Because you built the exact same way that we are. And so I definitely think it's an element of practice what you preach. But also I think as you get older as well, you never want to admit that you're old. You never want to admit that you're not that person. So when I got this marathon place, I was a bit like, I really don't have the time to do this. But in my head, I need to know that I still have it in the locker.
Yeah, because you did London before you had kids, and now you're doing London after you've had kids. So I did it before I had the kids, and then I did it when I just had the boys. And I've never done it since I've had my daughter. Okay.
So yeah.
Is your mindset going into this one different? How are you feeling for Sunday?
I am quite stressed about Sunday, because I think the trouble is when you do all those kind of mad challenges, like I remember the last time I did it, I did 408, I think, and I was in the marathon. I was in the train station on the way home, and this woman went, oh, what time did you get? And I said, and she went, oh, beat Superwoman. And I thought, you have not read the Sisterhood Pledge, my friend. Like, you know, and you like that. And I thought, and I think when you've done these kind of things, people expect you to breeze through it. I don't find running easy. I don't find marathons easy. I don't find any of these challenges easy. But it circles back to what I said. Like, sometimes you've got to put yourself in the uncomfortable position, because then you get the joy. I mean, I'll cry most of the way around, because also the marathon just makes me like people. Do you know, like, you line up on that start line and you look at the people who are running for their kids, or running for their parents, or running for their friends, and it makes you like people. I made all my family sit down and watch the news piece about the dads who were running for their little girls who were lost in that horrific incident in Stockport. And I thought, that is perspective. Does it matter if I run it in 2 hours or 7 hours? Does it? Heck. That's what it's about. The marathon is a wonderful example of the best of humanity for me.
It's a little bit like the scene at the end of Love Actually, when everyone is kind of coming out the airport and like
yes.
finding their family, like the same feeling at the end of a marathon. You can just observe everyone kind of a bit delirious finding their family, and it's just like an amazing moment to observe. And the same on the course. But
even at the start, like you see everybody with on their T-shirts, like who they're doing it for, and you think, oh, perspective is everything. And, you know, I think sometimes we all get lost in our own what seem like stressful things to us at the time. And, you know, you all get lost in your own head, don't you, of what's important. And I think the marathon's just a really good moment for everyone to take. I think as a nation, we've really adopted it into our psyche, and we take stock and go, look at all these people doing something wonderful by being a bit uncomfortable.
And how has training for this marathon been?
Right, yeah. That. I think the reason I agreed to do it this time was because with this plan, obviously I can move it around and I need to be flexible. Anyone with kids will tell you there's nothing straightforward about. Very few people have a routine. Like, it is what it is. They do stuff. They get sports fixtures. They have play dates. They get sick. And I work in a job that is a lot. Like, you work 23 hours and you have 4 days off. Then you work 15 days in a row and it's all... But training has been easier because I've had a block and I can see, right, I'll move these around. I quite often get the notification, we do not recommend doing 2 back-to-back sessions. I'm no choice, mate.
I messaged Helen like a week or so ago and I was like, how's training been? How was like your last long run? And what was your response?
I'd just done a 24-hour roller skate.
And that was like, you thought that was going to be cardio in place of your long run.
My ankles after that thing. So I did this 24-hour comic relief skating, which happened just at the time I should have been doing my big long runs. I thought, fine, 24 hours on the old quads, that'll be good for running. Wasn't so good for the ankle, so it definitely put me back, but I've done all short runs.
There's definitely some training benefit of 24 hours roller skating around.
And mental resilience.
Yeah, it's probably
That's what we'll hang on to, guys.
We might, if you're now our fastest runner, we're going to have to put that in everyone's training plan moving forward. It'll be like, right, you're 3 weeks out from London. It's time for your 24-hour roller skate.
Get doing those laps.
Yeah. What was the hardest thing about roller skating around in a circle for 24 hours?
Roller skating around in a circle for 24 hours. It was, I think hour 17 of looking at the same lap. I was like, oh, we're still going around in a circle. And we were broadcasting the whole thing. So trying to be BBC broadcast friendly for 28 hours was a challenge for me. But yeah, it was just, do you know what? I know this also is going to sound silly, but I think women in my chapter of life will get. Have you ever had a bunion?
Oh, my bunions are awful.
Why? Do they hurt so much? And it's such a comedy injury, isn't it? Like, you say ACL and people go, oh, that's got to hurt.
Yeah.
Bunion should not be that pain. But having a bunion, oh my gosh, that hurt a lot. I think at like 18 hours, one of the doctors started talking to me about bunion surgery and I was like, wow, this is not great television.
I was going to say, does it now not make running a marathon feel a little easier if you can be on your feet for 24 hours in a circle? You get to enjoy the views of the whole of London.
You get to see sky, which when they on the 24 hours they played us a video of the sun rising over Manchester as the sun came up, and I just started sobbing and they were like, what's wrong? And I said, the world's still going on and we're still going round in a circle. It was a weird thing, but again I think it gives you a good reference point, because there'll definitely be moments when I think I can't keep running, and then I'm like, I'm just going to have to keep running.
Yeah. All of your challenges are these crazy long challenges. It's never like, I'm going to sprint as fast as I can. And you've just written a book called In My Stride, all about the resilience you've built up from these tough times. Is that what it's taught you? How is your resilience? How are you going to use all of that in the marathon? Why do you think you have this resilience to be able to do these crazy long challenges?
I think it comes back to what we were saying about life. Like life, when you navigate life, you have to come up against stuff that's not that fun sometimes. And I think doing these things, it's almost like training. You know, people go to the gym. No one questions anyone who goes to the gym to get fitter, to get stronger, to get a bikini bod, or to get fit after having an operation. And I think we talk a lot about mental health, rightly so, but no one ever talks about how to make your brain like one of your strongest muscles. And I think for me, doing these sorts of challenges is that. The high wire thing that I did, that was the first thing that I had to be good at something rather than just keep plodding on. Because I think I'm like a fell pony, I can keep plodding. Whereas the high wire was the first one that I had to be good at something, and I was so terrified. But actually it comes back on the same skill set, because I remember being so terrified over Battersea Power Station, 110 metres in the air or whatever it was, on this wire. I was so scared, but it was the same skill set, because what I fell back on was, all I have to do is 3 steps. Take a deep breath and 3 steps. And just look 3 steps ahead. And I just did 3 steps and kept looking ahead and did 3 steps. And that's the same thing that I learned in the running, in the rowing. Running, I used to do 5 miles. Rowing, I used to do 16 miles. So I did like 2,000 miles or something on the Amazon. But in my head, I didn't. I did 16 miles loads of times because I knew I could do that. And with running, I know I can run 5 miles. I know I can do that. So I'll just do that loads of times, 5 times and a bit more.
Do you think it's that you are resilient, which is why you can do these crazy challenges, or have these crazy challenges made you resilient?
Oh, good question. Chicken and egg. I think it's both. I think opportunity is a good point as well. You know, like had I not have done Blue Peter, had I have not had this boss who won't mind me saying at the time when he was like, let's send Helen when my boss sent me to the Amazon to attempt to row down it, everybody in the building, including all the health and safety people, were like, he is a madman. Like, how is he letting this happen? So I can't say, oh yeah, I'm just an amazing, resilient person. There's been opportunity, there's been factors that have led to it. I think being a team person is big for me as well, because I, on Sunday, won't want to let you down. I won't want to let you down. And that'll matter to me. And I think that is a factor for me in resilience, which I think sometimes people look at resilience and they just see the I, and have I got it in the locker and can I do it? And actually, sometimes you have to take a step back and go, it's not really about you. Like when I did the high wire, people had to negotiate for months to get the permissions to do that over Battersea. And I knew that I'd been weeks and months of negotiating. So I didn't want to let Jane down, who had negotiated that. When I did the Amazon, I knew that our cameraman, like Stu and Eric and Gav, they were away from their families. I didn't want to let them down because I was the cog in the wheel. So I probably haven't answered your question. I think I'm a bit resilient because I'm Northern, sorry. And I grew up on a farm. And I do think when you grow up on a farm, that is inbred in you. You get out of life what you put in. But I think the other bits of that are, I've had the opportunity to do the challenges and I've been with good people who I respect and who I don't want to let down. So I think every other cog in the wheel's done their bit. I've just got to do my bit.
Yeah. I think it's also a great way for anyone doing the marathon to push themselves, which is they've got to find a way to not let themselves quit. They've got to work out who they'll be letting down, who they'll be making proud, and then they can't not do that.
Yeah.
And whether it's the team around you at work, or whether it's your boyfriend or your mum or your dad or your granddad, like we all can find that same motivation.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I guess the other thing that happened today was on your taxi ride over, you got some fantastic advice. What happened in your taxi ride over here today?
I jumped in the taxi and the guy went, Helen Skelton, you down for the marathon? I was like, yes, I am. And so, but he said, you don't sound as it, because I must have gone, yeah, because I thought, where's this going? And he goes, you don't sound like you're really excited. I was like, I was just a bit worried, like, I want to do well, but I don't know if I'm going to get a time that I want. And so then we had a very long chat. I mean, it only should have been a 5-minute journey, but I was in there for a good 45 minutes.
Yeah, he must have just been taking you the long way around the roundabout about 15 times.
And so we had a big old chat about marathon running, and he has done it twice. And he said the first time he did it, he thought he was going to win it. He went sailing out there, pulled his calf at mile 15, then limped the way round, hated the whole thing. The second time, he said, I abandoned all notion of doing a good time and just enjoyed it. And he said, I'm going to use that age-old cliche. The training is the marathon. Marathon day is just the party, the after party. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to put that in my locker.
Well, I think it's great advice. We're going to have to get him on the podcast and he can help all of our runners out there. Yeah, we saw you pulling in and you getting a selfie with the taxi man.
He asked me for a selfie. Although I'd love a selfie with him, obviously. Great taxi, very clean.
So that's the aim for Sunday. Enjoy it. See what you can do. Don't limit yourself.
And get around. My kids are never going to ask me. And also, I think it is all relative. So I saw some of my friends yesterday, the kids were playing rugby, and my mate went, oh, my friend's doing just done a marathon. She did it in 6.5 hours. That's a really good time, isn't it? And I went, that is a brilliant, it is all relative, and it doesn't matter because no one else in my world, my kid, trust me, my kids do have no concept of time. To them, 2 minutes is 20 minutes, Can I stay up 2 minutes more and then you're up for an hour? So it doesn't matter. If I go home with a medal, when I go home from the medal, they won't ask me the time.
I feel like having gotten to know you briefly, I think there's no if about if you go home with a medal.
Yeah.
And when you go home with a medal. I'm sure you'll make them all very, very proud.
Thank you.
With that in mind, we're going to segue over to Steph for our coaching tip of the week.
Today's tip is for those who are new to running. Start slow. This applies to your speed as well as your rate of progression. Avoid adding those faster workouts too early. The goal should be to build a strong foundation so you can have consistency in your training.
Thank you very much for that, Steph. We're going to come back with our this or that's. So, Helen, would you rather every run feel like mile 20 of a marathon or run 3 marathons every week?
Oh, I think I'd rather every run feel like mile 20 'cause it's only a mile.
And maybe that would just put you off your running altogether, though.
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm a weirdo, and I quite like the pain.
Okay.
It's
Almost
training
that's the
for
good
life.
bit. Is that the good bit? You're
Yeah.
looking forward on Sunday to that good old mile 20.
I like the bit where you go, it was so bad, this happened, but I got through it anyway.
What, you, Anya?
Well, so every run feels as bad as that. So every mile that I run, I couldn't do that. I want to run.
Well, actually, knowing your training, you don't have to add too much on to do a marathon every
that's what
long run.
Yeah, and at least I enjoy the first half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do marathons. What do you do?
I think I'm with you. I'm doing mile 20 lots of times.
It's just 1 mile.
Mile 20 is so hard.
I think there's a lot of runners high at mile 20. We could just be running high the whole time.
It depends how you've done your first 19 miles. You're just going too fast.
Yeah, we're building into it. You know?
I have no runners high at Limehouse in London Marathon at mile 20.
You'll have seen us cheering you on at mile 19. So mile 20 is
true.
going to be fantastic.
That's true.
Okay, would you rather... So you've done a few cool challenges in kayaks. You've done some running. Would you rather run the length of the River Thames or kayak the length of the River Thames?
Oh, kayak.
It's about 100 miles.
Oh, yeah, kayak. You'd just be a giant poo stick.
What if you had to run up the river?
Oh, what, like kayak up against...
Kayak up the 100 miles or run pretty much flat, but ever so slightly uphill the 100 miles?
No, I think kayak. Oh, yeah.
You're sitting down.
Yeah. No, I think kayak.
Okay.
Only because I haven't been in a boat for years, so I'm like, yeah, that'd be easy.
What about you, Anya?
I can't kayak. I'd capsize within before I got to Vauxhall.
I think it'd be pretty fun to kayak the Thames. It'd be quite an adventure, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a good view when you're on the waters. It's not a view you get a lot.
You'd probably get a bit more peace and quiet as well. I imagine you get a lot of people, a lot of traffic, a few busy bits.
Do you think
if
you could
ran.
hydrofoil it?
Well, I think you get in trouble. So I've got
I think
I've got
you
an
should.
electric surfboard
Oh.
that I really want to take to work one day because I live in Richmond, right by the river. But I think I'd have to do it about 5 a.m. when the river police aren't out.
But that would be such a cliche, wouldn't it? The tech guy, electric surfboards up the Thames to work. Like, that would be sensational.
It'd be so funny looking out that window, just
Yeah.
seeing Ben coming
You
into the
should do
office.
that.
So I do it in a suit.
Yeah, but why? I don't know why you're not doing that. You should do that.
Well, as like a regular mode of transport.
Yeah.
Or you mean like a one-off?
And also, I'm sure that's more environmentally friendly than a lot of ways to get to work, isn't it?
Well, I do cycle.
Oh. Close.
Okay, well...
You should definitely do that.
There we are. Well, that will be my challenge. You could kayak the Thames. Anya's going to run the Thames, and I'm going to electric surf the
And
Thames.
see who wins.
Yeah.
I did that once for a TV program in Istanbul. This is why people hate talking to me, because I had the most ridiculous. There was this one time when I was at Bandcamp. There was one time in Istanbul, I had to run underneath the river in a tunnel. Someone had to hitch public transport, and someone had to drive. And it was a race.
And who won?
Come on, Ben.
You.
Yeah.
Wow.
Traffic's really bad in Istanbul. Public
Right.
transport, I hid his wallet. Sorry.
That is amazing. Well, last this or that. So you've kayaked 2,000 miles down the Amazon. You've cycled to the South Pole. You've walked an 150-meter tightrope, 66 meters up Battersea Power Station. If you had to do one of all of the challenges you've ever done again, which would it be and why?
I would do the Amazon again because at the time I didn't appreciate that I was in South America on the ultimate adventure. I was so stressed about, we've got to get the distance, we've got to get the mileage, we've got to get to the end, we've got to set these world records, that I never just looked around. And it was like, and the cameraman Eric used to say to me all the time, be Elton John, don't wish it away, don't look at it like it's forever, because it's not. you know, and it was like dolphins swimming around me, like parrots and parakeets over my head. It was caiman coming up to my boat. We were meeting real pirates. It was like, if you were a kid to think of an adventure, it was exactly, we didn't know where we were going to sleep. We didn't know where we were going to eat. It was a complete adventure, but I didn't really appreciate it because I was so desperate to like get to the end and get finished. And I mean, I still couldn't kayak after all that. I T-boned it at the end, but I would go back and do that and just enjoy it. I think that's like them all, isn't it?
So it wasn't the 24-hour lapse of on the rollerblade.
Lapping a windowless room for 24 hours is definitely not.
No, well, that does sound pretty incredible.
It does. Our final closing question that we like to ask everybody is, well, this could be really interesting for you. Okay, design your dream race.
Okay.
What is it? Where is it? What food and drink are you having at the finish? And who's going to present you with your award?
It'd be 15 miles because I think half marathon, I feel like...
Running or kayaking?
Oh, running. I run. I think half marathon distance, you feel like it's a challenge, but in my head, I'm like, I still feel like I've got more, but then it's not as much training as a marathon, but it still feels a bit more. So 15, 16. It would be really early morning because I like sunrise, in the desert again, because I just think that's cool. But would also have every 5 miles, there's a water slide you can go down. Step off. Why not? Water slide. I wouldn't have... There is a race in France, isn't there, where you drink wine?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have loads of wine, but maybe a couple.
Is that before, at the top of the water slide or at the bottom of the water slide? Okay. Or it's not a... It's not a... It's not
ridiculous. Don't take a wine down a water slide.
It's not a wine slide.
No. Oh. Now you've... Oh.
Because then you could just lap it up as you slide down.
What would you do?
You lap it up as you slide down.
Or just get to the bottom and drink. No, I'd have a wine at the end of the slide, although that is a very different race you're suggesting. And then I'd definitely have my kids present the medal at the end because you want to finish strong. Mm-hmm.
And you're not worried like the kind of the chafing issues having gone on a water slide and you kind of got all a bit soggy and you're in the desert so you just dry off.
It's a delusional dream race, so I'm running it literally. Vaseline travels.
I think that then we can't have it as a wine slide because wine and Vaseline and sweaty bodies is probably ruining the wine.
It's a very different race then. It's a very different event, to be honest. Definitely water slides, definitely wine. My kids at the end, sunrise, so you've got the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. And I also get a lot out of the fancy dress runners, so I definitely have fancy dress runners in there. And
are you fancy dressed? Or they're around you for your entertainment, yes. But you're in optimal race attire.
And the cast of, I'd have like do you know what would be great as the other runners? The cast of Biker Grove now to see where they went, and the cast of Grange Hill now to see where they went.
This is so
and they're with you on okay.
Just for chat. Like, where's Spuggy now? Remember Spuggy? You guys are too young for that now.
And what is your go-to food and drink at the end of a race?
Wine.
It's just...
And red licorice. I do enjoy red licorice. I can't really eat at the end of a race, which is weird because you shouldn't you? But
so I guess your kids could probably present your medal to you
on
Sunday and give you some wine.
Yes.
And red licorice.
Yes.
There's only a few missed bits like the water slide.
We must go past the Lido, surely.
There's like another 11 miles and no desert.
I'm pretty sure there'll be some Biker Grove actors in there, though.
Well, you've pretty much got it on Sunday.
You guys thank you. You dream makers. You've made it happen.
Good luck for Sunday. You are going to smash it, and we can't wait to see how you get on.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your incredible stories, and we can't wait to see all of your future challenges. And I cannot wait for you to go home on Sunday with your medal, and there's no if about it.
Thank you. Very kind.
Today's podcast is powered by Runna. Runna is the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide. And whatever your running goal, whether you're looking to do your first 5K, improve your time over the 10K, or even run a marathon or an ultramarathon, we'll build you the personalized training for you to help you get there and enjoy the process along the way. If you want to download the Runna app, you'll get 2 weeks for free with code podcast25. And if you're already a Runna customer, you can head to the premium offers section where we've got a 15% off discount for you off any of our Runna merchandise.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, subscribe. And if you loved it, give us a 5-star rating. And we'll be back next week with another inspiring guest. See you then.